The tension reaches its peak when Joan enters the dimly lit room where Katherine is waiting, her form shrouded in shadows. Katherine is no longer recognizable. Her face is contorted in a way that is not human, a twisted mockery of the girl Joan once knew. Her eyes, once bright and filled with life, are now black voids, swirling with an ancient, unnatural energy. Her mouth curls into a malevolent smile, and the air around her crackles with the energy of something ancient and evil. "You shouldn't have come, Joan." Katherine's voice is low, distorted, far deeper and darker than it should be. It's not just Katherine speaking anymore, it's the demon, using her voice as a vessel. Joan steps forward, her heart pounding in her chest, every muscle in her body screaming to turn and run. But she holds her ground, her gaze locking onto Katherine's. "I won't let you do this," Joan says, her voice shaking but determined. "You're not her. You're not Katherine. You're something else. I'll stop you." Katherine tilts her head, and for a moment, there's a flicker of something that almost looks like Katherine's true self beneath the layers of darkness. But it's fleeting. The demon quickly takes control, laughing in a way that sends a chill down Joan's spine. "Oh, but you see, Joan," the demon's voice purrs, "she was never in control. She was always mine, always was. And now, she will become the key to something greater. You cannot stop it. None of you can." Joan, trembling but resolute, steps closer. "You don't understand. I know what you are. I know what you've done. And I'm not afraid of you." The demon laughs again, but this time, it's more of a sneer. "Fear is all you have left, Joan. Fear and guilt. That is what you've always carried with you. It's what makes you so perfect for this, so perfect for me. You will watch her die, and you will wish you had never tried to save her. You will wish you had never come back." With that, Katherine's form lunges at Joan with terrifying speed, knocking her to the ground. The room spins as Joan struggles beneath the weight of Katherine's possessed body. Katherine's strength is unnatural. She is far stronger than any human should be, and her grip is like iron. Joan gasps for air, trying to push her off, but Katherine only laughs, her body writhing in unnatural ways as the demon's influence grows stronger. "You can't stop this," Katherine's voice whispers, almost tenderly now, but there is nothing human about it. "You're just a small part of the plan. This is bigger than you." Joan, in a desperate attempt, grabs hold of a nearby book, a worn, ancient tome she had found earlier, and flips through its pages with trembling hands. She frantically searches for anything, any ritual that might work. The demon taunts her, knowing exactly what she's doing. "Don't bother," the demon scoffs. "Your time has passed. There's nothing left for you here." But Joan finds something, a faint ritual, a binding spell, meant to sever the connection between the living and the dead. It's dangerous, unpredictable, and may not work at all, but it's the only chance she has. With every ounce of strength she can muster, Joan forces herself to speak the words of the incantation. At first, nothing happens. But then, slowly, the air begins to change. The temperature drops, and the shadows in the room seem to move, swirling around Katherine's body. The demon's grip falters, and for a moment, Katherine seems to snap back to herself, her eyes wide and terrified. "No," Katherine whispers, her voice trembling. "Help me, please." But the moment is fleeting. The demon shrieks in fury, its presence growing stronger, more volatile. The room seems to collapse around them, the walls warping and stretching as if the very fabric of reality is coming undone. Joan pushes forward, the words of the incantation slipping from her lips with terrifying precision. The force of the spell grows stronger, and the demon howls in pain, but it is not enough. Just as Joan feels the spell start to take hold, the demon retaliates, sending a wave of psychic force through the room that knocks Joan off her feet. She is thrown back, her vision blurring, but her hand still grips the ancient tome, the pages torn and fluttering in the air. In that moment, Katherine's body contorts one last time, her form twisting into something grotesque, the demon now fully in control. Joan's heart breaks as she watches Katherine's face distort in agony. "I'm sorry," Joan whispers, the tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry." With a final, resounding scream, the demon collapses, and the room falls silent. Joan rises, bloodied and battered, her body shaking from the effort. She stumbles toward Katherine's still form, but it is too late. The girl she once knew is gone, consumed entirely by the darkness. All that remains is an empty shell, a body that no longer holds the soul it once did. The battle is over, but for Joan, it is only the beginning. This chapter marks the final, devastating confrontation between Joan and the demon that has taken control of Katherine. The battle is both psychological and supernatural, filled with moments of intense horror as Joan tries desperately to save her friend. The demon's hold on Katherine is unyielding, and the outcome is tragic, as Katherine's humanity is lost forever in the process. Joan is left broken, having fought with everything she had, but ultimately unable to stop the dark forces that have been set in motion. The chapter sets the stage for the aftermath, Joan's journey into the depths of despair, and the haunting realization that the forces they've faced may not be entirely gone. The chapter opens in the aftermath of the violent confrontation. The room where Katherine and Joan clashed is now eerily silent. The once oppressive air has lifted, but a deep sense of dread lingers in the atmosphere. The shadows that had contorted and twisted during the battle now seem to be retreating, but the tension remains thick in the room. Joan, bloodied and bruised from the struggle, is lying on the cold floor, her breathing shallow and erratic. Katherine, meanwhile, is a haunting figure, unmoving. Her body is still, yet there is something unsettling in the way she sits, unnaturally rigid, as if waiting for something. The blackness that had consumed her eyes is gone, but there is no relief in her expression. Her face is pale, drained of all emotion. Her lips are parted in a faint, eerie smile that seems both involuntary and sinister. Her pupils, once black and void, are now glassy, as though the light has fled from them entirely. Joan, weak and disoriented, struggles to get to her feet. Her mind is foggy, and her body feels numb, but she knows that she must act. There is still something wrong. Despite the apparent end of the confrontation, something about Katherine's stillness feels wrong, unnatural. Joan staggers toward her, each step taking an immense amount of energy. She kneels beside Katherine, looking into her eyes, searching for any sign of life, any flicker of recognition. But there is nothing. Joan places a trembling hand on Katherine's shoulder, feeling the coldness of her skin. She calls her name softly at first. "Katherine, can you hear me?" but receives no response. She calls louder, shaking Katherine's body, hoping for some kind of reaction. The silence in the room is suffocating, and it feels as if time itself has stopped. The air is thick, heavy, oppressive, as if the very room is waiting for something to happen. Suddenly, Katherine's head twitches, the smallest of movements, almost imperceptible. Joan pulls back, her heart leaping into her throat. Is Katherine coming back to herself? Has the demon truly been defeated, or is this just a calm before another storm? The moment passes, and Katherine's head drops, her body slumping to one side. Her eyes remain lifeless, unblinking, and Joan is left with the nagging suspicion that Katherine may never return. The demon may have left, but its mark is deep. Whatever possessed Katherine is no longer a physical presence, but its grip has left her shattered, hollowed out. Joan can feel it. The soul within Katherine, the essence of who she once was, is gone, lost in the battle, consumed by forces beyond comprehension. Joan's mind races. Was there any hope of saving Katherine at all? Or had she simply been a vessel all along, meant to be used by the demonic entity until it had no further purpose for her? The girl she had known, the one who had been kind and innocent, seems to have been nothing more than a mask, one that was always destined to crack and reveal something far more sinister lurking beneath. Joan's chest tightens with a cold sense of inevitability. There was never any real chance for redemption, only destruction. But what of Joan? What is left for her now? She has fought with everything she had, but in the end, she too has been irreparably changed. The trauma, the horror of what she's witnessed, has left deep scars. Her mind is fractured, haunted by memories and whispers from her past life. She feels the weight of it all, the terror, the despair, pressing down on her, suffocating her, and the silence around her is a constant reminder of her failure. Joan stumbles backward, unable to look at Katherine any longer. She walks to the window, her movements slow, her gaze lost in the swirling storm outside. The night sky is dark, oppressive, and the wind howls through the trees. Everything outside seems to mirror her inner turmoil, and she cannot escape it. As Joan stands there, gazing out the window, a flicker of movement catches her eye. She turns, startled, and sees Katherine's hand twitch again. It's subtle, but it's enough to send a jolt of fear through Joan's spine. Katherine's head lifts slightly, her gaze slowly turning toward Joan. For a moment, everything stands still. Then, Katherine's lips curl into a faint, unsettling smile. It is a smile that is not her own, a smile that feels like a mockery. It is the smile of something far older, far darker, than Katherine could ever be. "Katherine," Joan whispers, her voice trembling. She steps forward cautiously, but her heart is pounding in her chest. Katherine does not speak. She does not move, but there is something in her eyes, a glimmer of recognition, or perhaps an awareness, as if she is waking up from a deep slumber. But it is not the Katherine Joan once knew. It is something else, something worse, something born of the darkness that has been consuming her all along. Joan feels a knot tighten in her stomach. The room grows colder, the air heavier, as if something malignant is creeping back into the space. A deep sense of foreboding fills Joan's chest, and she begins to realize with horror that this is not over. The battle may have ended, but the war is far from finished. The entity that possessed Katherine may have been banished, or so Joan thought, but its influence lingers. The darkness is not gone. It has merely taken root more deeply, hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to strike again. Katherine is still alive, but she is not free. She is still a prisoner of the evil force that once controlled her. Joan staggers away from Katherine, her mind reeling. The world around her begins to blur as her sense of reality begins to fragment. She can no longer tell what is real and what is a manifestation of her fractured mind. The lines between the two have blurred. The horrors she has seen, the death and destruction, have left her mentally and emotionally shattered. She begins to hear things, whispers that seem to come from all directions, low and menacing, calling her name, beckoning her to come closer. They are not real. They cannot be. But Joan can't shake the feeling that they are. She turns away from Katherine, her hands trembling as she tries to steady herself, but it is too late. She hears the faint sound of footsteps behind her, slow and deliberate, as if someone, or something, is following her. She spins around, but there is no one there. Only the shadows, stretching and contorting as though alive. The darkness in the room has deepened, and Joan can feel it closing in on her, tightening its grip. She backs away toward the door, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The whispers grow louder, the voices blending into one distorted cacophony, all calling to her, pulling her into the abyss. Her heart races as she scrambles to escape, but as she reaches for the door, it slams shut in front of her. She screams, her mind unraveling as the air grows thick with an invisible pressure. Outside the room, the school seems to be shifting, its walls growing tighter, more confining. The entire building feels alive, as if it is feeding off her fear, growing stronger with every passing second. She turns back to Katherine, whose smile has widened into something grotesque, something not human at all. The eyes that once belonged to Katherine are now fully black again, completely consumed by the evil force. The school is no longer just a building. It is a prison, a labyrinth that has trapped both Katherine and Joan. The malevolent force that haunted the school is still here, and it has found new prey. Joan falls to her knees, unable to escape the realization she is not free. She will never be free. The darkness will follow her, consume her, until she becomes one with it. In the last moments of the chapter, Joan looks out the window once more, the storm raging outside. The wind is howling, and the trees thrash violently against the glass. Everything seems to blur, her vision distorting as she sinks into the madness that has overtaken her. Her breath is shallow, her mind clouded with the whispering voices, but one thing is certain: the darkness has won. The screen goes black, leaving only the sound of wind and the faintest of whispers. As the credits roll, the lingering sense of dread hangs over everything. The darkness, it seems, is never truly gone. It waits, dormant but patient, always ready to return. It leaves the fate of Joan and Katherine open-ended, suggesting that the battle with the supernatural forces is far from over. Joan's fate is unclear. Whether she succumbs to madness or becomes the next vessel for the dark force is left to the viewer's imagination. The chilling conclusion suggests that the evil at the school is not vanquished, only lying dormant, waiting to consume once more. The tone is one of unresolved dread, making it clear that the darkness will always return, and there is no true escape from it.